Today, we are diving deep into one of the most human things there is, that constant and, let's be honest, sometimes exhausting battle that's happening right inside our own heads.
So let's just start with a question we've all wrestled with. Is your mind your best friend, your trusted ally, the thing that helps you navigate life? Or does it sometimes feel like it's your absolute worst enemy, a critic that just lives in your head rent-free?
You know, what's so wild is that this isn't some new 21st century problem. This is a timeless struggle. And the crazy part, the way a 13th century poet like Rumi talked about it sounds shockingly similar to how modern neuroscientists and psychologists describe it today. So we're going to put their insights right next to each other and see what happens. All right, first things first, let's give these negative voices a name. In the world of positive intelligence, they're called saboteurs. Now, think of them as these leftover programs from a time when we needed to survive physical threats. The only problem is, in our modern world, these same programs often work directly against our happiness and success. And get this, there's a boss. The master saboteur is called the judge. This is that universal voice of criticism we all have. It's the part of you that blames you when things go wrong, judges other people way too harshly, and is always complaining about your situation. It absolutely thrives on finding fault in everything, and it is the root of so much of our stress. And if you think this is some new age idea, listen to this. 800 years ago, the poet Rumi wrote that exact line. He totally got it. Our perception isn't reality. It's just a reflection of our inner state. So if your inner judge is running the show, then of course the whole world's going to look flawed. But the judge? Oh, it doesn't work alone. It's got a whole crew of accomplices. See if any of these sound familiar to you. You've got the victim, who's always convincing you you're helpless. The perfectionist, who creates massive anxiety over the tiniest details. The hyperachiever, who ties every ounce of your self-worth to what you just accomplished. And the restless, which just can't sit still and ever be at peace. Rumi tells this incredible little story that just perfectly captures the twisted logic of that victim saboteur. I mean, think about it. The man isn't in any real danger at all, but his fear, his internal story, has convinced him that he is. He's literally built his own prison out of his thoughts. How often do our own fears, cranked up to volume 11 by our saboteurs, lock us away from life, even when there's no real threat? So, if that's the problem, what on earth is the solution? Well, if one part of our brain is home to the saboteurs, another part is home to their exact opposite. And we're going to call this the sage. And the difference between these two is night and day. The saboteur mind reacts. It's all fear, anger, blame. It's our primitive survival brain kicking into overdrive. But the sage mind, it responds. It operates from a place of empathy, of curiosity, of creativity. It doesn't see a situation as good or bad. No, it sees every single outcome as a gift or an opportunity to learn something new. Okay, so how do we actually get there? How do we make that shift from saboteur to sage? Well, thinkers like Eckhart Tolle say that this whole inner war only happens because we're constantly fighting with what is. So the antidote, the secret weapon, is to just stop fighting the present moment. And let's be super clear about what surrender means here. This is not weakness. It is not giving up. It is the deep, profound wisdom of just ceasing your inner argument with reality. You just accept this moment, right here, exactly as it is, without sticking a good or bad label on it. And right there, in that acceptance, the judge loses all of its power. Okay, I know that might be sounding a little abstract, so let's get really practical. How do you actually do this, especially when your mind is going a million miles an hour? Well, this is where modern psychology gives us a fantastic tool. The whole idea is to build up your sage muscle. And just like any other muscle, it gets stronger the more you practice. And the practice itself, it is unbelievably simple. It's called a PQ rep, and it's basically a way to quiet down that saboteur network in your brain and fire up the sage network instead. You can do it right now. For just 10 seconds, shift all of your attention to one of your physical senses. Try to notice 3 different sounds around you. Or just feel the texture of your shirt on your skin. Or even easier, just intently follow one single breath, all the way in and all the way out. That's it, just 10 seconds. The magic isn't how long you do it, it's the simple act of shifting your focus away from that runaway train of thoughts in your head and onto the physical reality of right now. That simple act is enough to interrupt the saboteur's hijack. And when you do this, something really powerful happens. You create this tiny little gap, a bit of space between a trigger and your reaction. And in that little space, that's where your freedom to choose lies.
Which brings us to the most important takeaway of all. The goal here is not to completely silence your inner critic. I mean, let's be real, that's impossible. The judge is always going to have an opinion. The goal is just to recognize its voice, not as the truth, but just as one of the channels on the radio. You can hear it, but you don't have to give it the microphone. You can choose to listen to the sage instead.
Rumi leaves us with this powerful, almost heartbreaking final image. A peacock's feathers are gorgeous, right? They're a core part of its identity. But the peacock recognizes they're also the source of its danger. They attract hunters. And our saboteurs can feel just like that. Our perfectionism feels like it's helping us succeed. Our hyperachiever feels like it's what gives us value. But real wisdom, that's recognizing when the most familiar parts of ourselves are actually the enemy of our peace.
So, in the end, it really all comes down to a choice. A choice we have to make, moment by moment, every single day. The saboteur and the sage are both talking. The only question left is, which one are you going to listen to? Which voice will you choose to amplify?